care agency, just as there are many, probably 300 plus home care agencies in our DC metropolitan area. I wanted to mention the difference to you guys of an agency model versus the registry model. A registry home care provider sends out an individual contracted caregiver to support a family member. They are not necessarily, well, they are definitely not employed by the agency. Therefore, there aren't very many backup support that goes along with that registry model. The benefit to the registry model is the cost. But I always say in life, you kind of get what you pay for, right? So, with Georgetown and many of the other agencies in our area, an agency model gives you the peace of mind that the caregivers on our team are all full-time employees. So, for your peace of mind, they're background checked, licensed, bonded, insured, fully vetted on our end, the agency's end. Therefore, if something were to happen and the caregiver was unable to come on a particularly scheduled day, the agency would be able to provide you with a backup or substitute caregiver for that day. So that's very beneficial as well. You can have the peace of mind to just know that who the stranger coming in your home has been fully vetted by the agency. Now, in my career I like to consider myself kind of an expert in the home care industry, if you will. There tends to be two different times when I come in contact with a family and they may need home care services. The first time is from an individual's home. Maybe now, especially during this past year and the pandemic we've been experiencing, family members are in their homes a lot more. They're alone a lot more. They're isolated and lonely, and their well being may be deteriorating. And so that may be a great opportunity to introduce a caregiver. The other opportunity would be if someone had an operation, a scheduled or unplanned, or they were in the hospital and they were coming home and really needed an extra set of hands to support them transition home safely, whether they come straight home from the hospital or if they go to a nursing home first for rehab services and then they come home. Renee, am I able to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I would like to share that with you guys so I can give you some visuals. Here we go. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. The little toggle thing is in the way. There we go. Okay, here we go. I wanted to show you, let me move this out of the way. Thank you. I'll make it a little bigger so you can see it. This is the traditional continuum of care. And so back in the day, it kind of consisted of someone who lived independently first. And then they may start, well, this is the new continuum of care. From independent living, they may welcome a home care agency into their home to support them in the home and keep them there, help them age in place. Once they got to a point where they were no longer able to stay home safely, then they would go to an assisted living community. That's where it's a facility-based program where someone lived kind of like in an apartment setting and there were activities and meals provided for them. They had assistance with their daily living. The next step from assisted living sometimes could be the hospital. After that, the skilled nursing home or the long-term care facility where you're living in a nursing home. And then the end of the step of the arrow here is hospice care. So that used to be the traditional straight line across how seniors would kind of move along the aging process. Nowadays, it looks more like this. An individual stays home, you can see in the middle, they're in their community, and all of the circles around that are the different ways that they can be supported. Right there, very at the top, is your village. Because you guys are village members, you have tons of support and resources at the ready. This is very huge, very beneficial. You also have aging life care managers that you can hire as independent support systems for you individually. Now, if you go to a hospital, a lot of times, especially during the pandemic this past year, I've seen people come home right after a hospital stay instead of continuing on. There's also memory care support that you can get in your home. There's home physical therapy and occupational therapy. That's what the OT and PT stand for. So you can get that in your home. You can also get skilled services. A nurse can come into your home for a couple times a week, and you can get home care services in your home. And all of these circles around you are helping you age in place. And seniors are really able to do that a lot more easily nowadays, which is so beneficial. I'll talk more about the home care side of it because that's where we are here. But first, I wanted to direct you to our website in general. Feel free to visit it at any time, but it has a lot, because it has a lot of resources. Again, not promoting myself, so I'll scroll down. The reason for me bringing this talk to you guys today is really to go over the thoughts and to know when is the right time to bring in a home care specialist, a caregiver is what we call them. And here's a wonderful checklist. You'll find lots of different resources for you and your adult children and your family to check out on our website. But this checklist here is really, really beneficial. Let's go through it. Does your loved one manage to keep all of his or her appointments? At dinner time, will your loved one be able to tell you what he or she had for breakfast? You know, that memory from earlier in the day. Is your loved one capable of maintaining his or her household? Does your loved one require a device to assist with walking? Does your loved one forget to require a reminder? Does your loved one forget or require a reminder to take his or her medication? That's a good one. Has your loved one withdrawn his or herself from social circles and activities willingly or on your own, not because of a pandemic, right? Okay, I did that one. Has your loved one ever forgotten about something they put in the stove or in the oven, only to be reminded by someone else, the sound of an alarm or a burning smell? That's really a scary thought, right? Does your loved one ever become disoriented, perhaps failing to recall where they are or the subject of a conversation they had just been taking part in? Does your loved one's numerical or accounting skills decline in the past few years? Another one could be driving. Have your kids taken away your keys recently? That sort of thing. So those questions there are really a good start, I'd say. So answer those questions, see where you fall on there. That will give you, or maybe your neighbor. It could be a neighbor of yours, it could be your spouse, or maybe your children are looking at this. It's written as from the point of view of talking to your kids. So have them go on here and check it out too. I always tell families it's never too early to start the conversation. Many times I'm speaking with a stressed out family member from the hospital bedside as the discharge planner says, okay, we're going to discharge at 2:00 today. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's 1:00. What do I do? And so oftentimes it's last minute. But if you're armed ahead of time with this knowledge of what it's going to look like, you can make a more informed decision. Here's another entry on our website that's pretty helpful too. It's 6 reasons home care is important. And you'll go through this here, and it talks about when is home care an option. It talks when you need help around the house. Are you not able to stand up and do the dishes and enter them into the dishwasher or hand wash them at the sink? Is laundry getting piled up? Are you not really cooking any meals anymore? Maybe you're just having sandwiches or cereal, or if that at all. Do you need assistance getting to and from appointments? Are your medications being picked up? Are you taking them regularly? Are you forgetting meds? Grocery shopping and any shopping in general. A lot of times nowadays we have delivery services, which is also helpful, but maybe you need help with the technology side of it. Maybe you need help getting on the computer, ordering from Instacart so that the groceries do come. And then when the groceries come, are you able to lift them up off the floor and put them away? Or do you forget that they're here and that you haven't put them away? Those sorts of things. And then really take a look at your activities of daily living. They call those ADLs, things like toileting, dressing, oral care, bathing. Are you changing your clothes every day? Are you brushing your teeth twice a day still? I met a family one time, and it was to the point where the dad was not changing into pajamas at night anymore because he thought, what's the point? I'm just going to wake up and have to put clothes on the next day. So he would in turn wear the same clothes days in a row, weeks in a row, because he just had given up. And so having a caregiver come in to support those sorts of personal care needs can be really helpful. 24/7 assistance or supervision for safety and comfort. Have you fallen recently? How many times? Do you have a life alert? Those are huge. Definitely look into that. If you guys don't have a life alert yet, I highly recommend it. It's not something that my agency provides, but they're readily available. And I'm sure Renee may have more resources on how to get a hold of a life alert. But for anyone living alone, especially critical. If you fall, you will not believe how many times I've heard someone say, I fell in the middle of the night getting up to go to the bathroom and no one found me for X amount of hours. I mean, that is super, super scary. And a lot of long-term results could happen because of it. So having that life alert can save your life for sure. And just basic companionship too. So that is another thing that we're seeing a lot of right now, mental health. Being alone for so long over the last year, we're seeing a lot of depression. And so for a senior, it could be a scary thought to invite a stranger into your home. I dealt with that with my own grandmother, and it can be hard to overcome the thought of having someone in your house. But remember, they're all background checked, licensed, bonded, insured, fully vetted. So give you that peace of mind that who you're inviting in your home has been vetted. And then once they come in, this is a list of things that they can help with. I know that's always the biggest question is, well, what are they going to do? I'm going to have this stranger come into my house. What are we going to do? Because for our agency, and you'll find most of the agencies in this area, there is a 4-hour minimum per shift. So every time you have the caregiver come out to your home, there's no maximum of how long they can stay. Oftentimes we're there 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day. If it's directly out of a hospital stay, sometimes it's even 24 hours a day. But the minimum is 4 hours. So oftentimes I'll see someone needing a 4-hour shift if they're at home. No, nothing major has happened. They're looking just for someone to come in and check on them once in a while, a couple times a week, to make sure X, Y, and Z have gotten done. And this is a list of, it's just a sample, honestly. I really try to tailor our services based on each individual's needs. Everyone does. So when you first call an agency and say, I think I might need some help, we'll spend a long time on the phone learning about you. Tell me all about yourself and your current situation and what you're doing, what's going on. And then I go into my spiel, which is a little bit of background about our particular agency. And then I talk about the fact that the caregivers are either certified nursing assistants or home health aides, which means the types of services they can provide families with are any personal care needs that someone has. So anything on your body, bathing, dressing, toileting, hygiene type stuff, as well as any companion care services. And those things are truly endless. You think about it, we can support an 18-year-old who just got hit by a car walking in a crosswalk to a 107-year-old who's recovering and bedbound from COVID, and everywhere in between, literally. And so we really try to tailor your companion care services based on your individual needs. But in general, here's a suggested list: light housekeeping, laundry, meal preparation, medication reminders, shopping and errands, um, answering the door if the neighbor stops by to visit, changing your bed sheets, making you a pot of coffee, cleaning your glasses, putting lotion on your feet. Whatever it is that you need to make you feel safe and comfortable, rested if you're recovering from an illness, and not having to stress and worry about all the other little things going on in the house that I know for me and a lot of women in general, I get stressed out if the dishes are piled up in the sink, right? And so if you've got someone in there to be your right-hand man and do all those odds and ends, you're going to be more comfortable, more relaxed, you're going to sleep better, you're going to heal faster, you're just going to be more calm and at peace. Not only that, but they can sit and watch TV with you. If you've been alone this whole pandemic, they can play cards with you. You can put on some fun music and have a dance party. Whatever it is that you want to do, they can do. They're just not nurses. So they couldn't like change any bandages, any wound care, and they can't administer medication. And that means put the pill in your mouth. They can hand it to you. They can put it in your hand. They can even guide your hand to your mouth, hand you the water, document that it's been taken, but they can't administer the meds. But everything else those are the two things that a nurse can do. We can do anything else. We can even talk to your kids on the phone and keep them up to date about how you're doing. They can FaceTime with them. They can help you send your emails, go get the mail. I remember before COVID hit, we'd have individuals in our area. I live near Capitol Hill as well, so I'm neighbors with you guys. But we'd have families have a caregiver come in just to go to a museum together, someone to go on outings, to get out of the house and get some exercise. You know, the sidewalks can be bumpy, and so you may be afraid to walk down the sidewalk. So having that companion by your side to go on a walk with is really beneficial. Now, you're probably wondering, I keep mentioning the pandemic and COVID. What's it like if I'm going to invite a stranger in right now with COVID? Well, we have 450 plus caregivers on our team. That's a lot. And you'll find that most of the agencies have similar amounts. With the first round of vaccines, tons of our caregivers were able to get their first and second doses of the vaccine already, something we're extremely proud of. So many of them already have the vaccine. Some of them have one shot of the vaccine. Lots of them get tested regularly, but every single morning at the start of every shift, no matter if they've been vaccinated or not, they are required to answer a set of CDC approved questions, wellness check, if you will. When they arrive to your home, they clock in and clock out using an app on their phone. It's associated with your address. So you're only getting charged for the hours that the caregiver is in your home. But while she's clocking in, she has to answer a questionnaire on what her temperature is. Where has she been? Has she been around anyone who's been out of the state or could have picked it up? Those sorts of things. And our director of nursing actually is staying really, really closely on top of all of our caregivers to make sure that they're staying healthy, doing proper hand washing techniques. We personally, our agency has partnered with an infectious disease nurse practitioner out of Georgetown Hospital to be able to stay in touch with our caregivers. We selected a group of them to be able to care for COVID positive patients during the pandemic. So we've been able to support that population as well, which has been very rewarding, extremely challenging, as you can imagine, but super rewarding as well. And also our owner, it's a husband and wife team who own our agency, and they send out regular videos and YouTube trainings on proper hand washing techniques and how to wipe down count surfaces and things of that sort. robing and disrobing. They all wear their own masks. We do ask that families provide disposable gloves, but that's something we've always done. So I hope that makes it not as scary. The thought of having a stranger coming into your home. The real benefit to our agencies, probably all of them, is that for us, there's no contractual obligation whatsoever. And so I always tell families, let's just try it. Let's see how it works out. Our minimum, again, is 4 hours per shift. We tend to ask for 3 times a week at the very minimum. And so that looks like 12 hours a week. We can be super flexible, whether it's 3 days in a row, every other day, nights, mornings, weekends, doesn't matter for us. And if it doesn't work out, all we ask for is 24 hours notice to cancel. No questions asked. So if it doesn't work out, you can stop. But 9 times out of 10, people realize how beneficial it can be for having someone coming in your home to help you, to be that right-hand man for you, that they oftentimes continue to have us come in for years. But on the flip side, if someone's having hip surgery and they're coming home from a hospital stay and they only need us for 2 weeks, then that's it. They have us come in, help them rehab and get better, and then we're done. No questions asked. So lots of flexibility on that. The other thing to keep in mind is, sadly, unfortunately, it is an out-of-pocket expense. Insurance does not cover this. So no Medicare, no Medicaid, no private insurance. We do work with long-term care insurance agencies, though, on a reimbursement basis. So if you have a separate long-term care insurance policy through the federal government or John Hancock or AARP or something of that sort, we will work with all of them. We're an approved agency with all of those policies, but it depends too what your policy looks like. Oftentimes there's, I think, like a 90-day waiting period. They tend to retroactivate reimbursement, but essentially you would pay our agency bi-weekly, and then we would send, or you would send in the invoice, your paid invoice, with a service plan of what we performed, what services we did for you while you were there, mail those off to the insurance company, and then they send you a check. So it's pretty easy, straightforward. We've been doing that for a long time. There are some Medicaid companies, agencies that work with Medicaid. Ours does not. So if someone had Medicaid, I'm sure the village could help you find an agency that had those types of services. But typically, industry-wide, it's an out-of-pocket expense across the board. And you're looking at for us, I mean, every agency's pricing is going to be different, but it's all charged by the hour. And our rates range from $26 per hour to $28 per hour. And how we determine the price is based on how many hours you need. So again, our owners, our husband and wife team, they actually started this agency after dealing with the aging process of their own parents. So they get it. They're in it for the right reasons. They know why people need this. They've been through it themselves. And so they are not trying to take people for everything they're worth. So like I mentioned, when someone's coming directly out of a hospital stay, we definitely recommend being heavier on the hours, often 24 hours a day for at least the first 3 days. Those first 72 hours after a hospital or rehab stay are really the most critical. It's when we see the most returns to the hospital, whether it's due to a fall or dehydration or just not following discharge orders. So if they have a caregiver by their side, actually 8 times less likely to return to the hospital. So oftentimes families will start with 24 hours a day for 3 days, and then on day 4 scale back. Maybe the person's sleeping through the night at that point and they don't need anybody in the overnight hours, so then we're just there during the day. Maybe we do 12-hour day shifts for the rest of that week, and then we scale back even further to 8 hours a day, and then 4 hours a day and then every other day. But when they start out on the needing 24 hours a day, we only charge $26 an hour. And then I never change it. I don't charge more because they decrease. I kind of lock them in at that low rate. So they have that low rate moving forward. On the opposite end, if someone's bringing in a caregiver from home and there's no critical acute issue, they're just needing basic companionship, someone to come in and check on them 2, maybe 3 times a week, the rate is higher at $28 per hour. If you think about it from the caregiver's point of view, they're full-time employees, so they're trying to fill their 40-hour weeks, right? And so the more hours they have, the easier it's going to be for them and for us to fill a case. And so they're more readily available. And so that rate for you guys is a little bit higher when it's on the shorter end, because it's harder for us to get them to agree. We have to pay them more to do a shorter shift, if that makes sense. And that's another benefit about our agency and a lot of agencies is that these caregivers are really well taken care of. They may only be getting minimum wage, but they're getting 401k. They're getting insurance. Our agency provides sick leave. So especially now with COVID, it's been very beneficial. If they're not feeling well, we still pay them to stay home. We want them to take their health seriously and not go to work because they think they're essential and then spread any illnesses and diseases. So they're getting sick leave to stay home and take good care of themselves. But knock on wood, we've been very beneficial. We've been very lucky, I should say, with health over the last year. So if you or your neighbor, if you're noticing that, a lot of those things on that checklist that we talked about earlier on our website really just aren't getting done. You're forgetting to pick up the mail weeks at a time. Go through your, this is a funny story, go through your refrigerator or your spice cabinet and see if you have any expired spices. My daughter and I were cleaning out my cabinets and I had gotten one of those Lazy Susans for Christmas to put all my spices on. And so as we were going through, she's 11. We were looking at it and she was like, Mom, this is from 2019. And even later on, some of them, and it's not something that you look at all the time, right? But if your refrigerator also has lots of expired food, that's an indicator too. So think about it. If you could really need someone to help you change the bed sheets, get those groceries in, just someone to talk to. Organizing. If you've got a bookshelf that you'd love to reorganize by color coding or something fun like that, maybe bring in a caregiver from time to time. And for us, it doesn't have to be every single day, all day long. It can be once a month. It could be every other day. Just someone to kind of get you back up and started, get some momentum going in your life, and then you can cancel. Definitely keep the home care thought in your mind for any hospital stays. You'll definitely want to have someone help you transition home. I don't care who you are. You're going to be more weak, even me, being in a hospital, just laying in the bed all day, eating their food, having some nurse come in multiple times throughout your overnight and stay there. You're just tired and more weak when you first come home from a hospital stay. And so having someone to help figure out your new routine at home and to help you sleep through the night again and get acclimated. Sadly, a lot of times I hear these stories of individuals going into a hospital. Maybe they had a fall or a heart attack or whatever it might be. And then they're there for 3 days, maybe a week. Then they go to a rehab for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So by the time you get back home, you've been gone for a month. And you're weak and you're not as strong as you were. And so it definitely can take some time to get acclimated again. But be proactive. In the meantime, get a life alert, talk to your children about When to know is the right time, where your finances are. My dad was in the military. And so when I first started doing home care, I went to him and said, okay, where's your DD 214? Tell me about your Medicare plan. Like, how do I know where all your stuff is? Like, talk to your children about these things so everyone's on the same page. Um, a file for your power of attorney and your advanced directives. The village can help you with all of those sorts of things. But definitely, it's never too early to start talking to somebody about where you should be or what you want to do or that sort of thing. Being prepared is great. Why don't we go ahead and open it? I'll stop sharing my screen now. And we can see if either of you ladies have any questions, or maybe even Renee has some questions for me. Like I said, I've been doing this for a really long time, so I feel like I've kind of seen a lot of stuff. I might have some answers for you.
Do either of you have questions? Go ahead, Maureen.
Hi, how do you gently convince someone they need like a life alert, etc.? I'm not at that stage myself, but we have a neighbor and it's hard. She needs help. And so what are the ways you do that? I mean, we're all sort of flummoxed.
Yeah, very gently, right? And even
Right.
so, when you do, it may not be received because you're friends or because you're the mother or child. Gosh, I know my kids don't listen to me sometimes, but if my best friend tells them the same thing, they'll listen to her instead of me, right? So sometimes it comes easier from a professional. So if you are able to tag along to a doctor appointment or somehow mention or bring up that a phone call with a home care expert is free. Doesn't take time. She doesn't even have to get dressed. All they have to do is call me, right? I'm happy to chat with them, or any of these agency representatives would be happy to chat with them. You may ask if you could print her out some information and leave it for her to read at her leisure. I would be happy to mail it to you and you could take it over there or print it off of our website. It's a sticky subject and sometimes it takes families a long time to come around, but the way that I always lead when I'm recommending this to a child to tell their parents is I come back to the fact that there's no contractual obligation. Let's try it. Let's just try it for one visit. Have them come and see if it's beneficial, see how you like it, or try it for a week. And the senior or the individual can get involved with the interview process, even. Sometimes it's a matter of them wanting to stay in control and feel like it's their decision. And so we can provide 2 or even 3 different caregivers to come over and do a little meet and greet. Have her meet them, and then she chooses which one she likes best to come help her, be a support to her, explain, make a list of the things that they could do. So every person's different and every person takes it differently. So it's hard to give you a direct way of saying it. I'm not a social worker. I just consider myself a healthcare, expert, if you will. So Renee may have some more direction for you on gentle ways to bring up the conversation, but that's kind of what I'd have to say.
And Maureen, is your neighbor a member, do you know?
No, and we've tried.
Okay.
It's she has the finances. It's not that. We have tried, and anyway, I won't bore you with the details. It is not for lack of effort. Is there a difference in the life alert systems that makes one easier or more reliable? I don't know anything about them. I mean, we'd like to at least get her to do that.
I think there's like a necklace version that someone could wear under their shirt, or there may be like a belt version that kind of clips on to their, what do you know?
Yeah, I'm Googling. So, and Maureen, I can send you some additional information about life alerts and home care and things if that's something you want to look into. But on my Google search I just did, I see a bracelet, I see a necklace, I see a watch.
Oh, yeah, I know there are a lot. I didn't know if you'd found in your experience that like the necklace has the advantage of staying on and not
Mm,
being put on the bedside table, perhaps, and whatever,
got it.
or a bracelet. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's difficult. It's a hard concept to wrap your head around, that I can no longer manage on my own. I can't imagine someone having to grasp that. And yeah, I don't know how to broach it so much. Check out our website though, because I do think there are some other blog posts on there that talk about that. So if you want to kind of scan, or I can email you some too if you want to share your email.
Thank you. We have a first step we have to get. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Too bad she couldn't join us today.
oh, that would be a step.
Well, you recorded this. Maybe you could send a casual email, just something,
Oh, we've tried. Trust me. This is this is an ongoing challenge, and so thank you though.
It's tough. And unfortunately, a lot of those times when someone is so super resistant, it doesn't actually happen until there's a crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's from a hospital stay or a rehab stay, and it's because it's essential. And then they're like, oh, why haven't I been doing this the whole along? It's so helpful. I love that she does the dishes and I feel better, It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough to see the friend
It's,
go back and watch it.
Well, I thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm concerned about myself, but I just have problems with using my hands. And I'm very lucky to have a long-term house cleaner who I've just extended to from 1 day a week to 2 days a week. So I can get things that I can't, that most normal people can do, like slice onions.
Oh yeah.
It's stupid things like that that are my problem. And I think I need occupational therapy, which I will arrange. But
And your insurance will cover that. So insurance does
right.
cover the home health side of things. What I talked about today was the home care side of this thing. So there's two sides. Home care is all out of pocket. Home health is your occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, a skilled nurse, and insurance does cover that. Insurance does also support for hospice care and palliative care. I didn't mention that. But if someone needed that, hospice has come a long way and has a stereotype for end of life care, which of course it is, but it doesn't necessarily have to be anymore. I know a lot of patients who actually have come off of hospice or only on it temporarily.
Mm.
And so that's also a thought to think about down the road, lots of different options. Any other topics or subjects, Renee, that you can think of that I should have touched on?
No, not off the top of my head. I think that covered cost, and I think that's sometimes the most important, especially things that are out of pocket. So, no, I think that is just really good information.
It can add up. I know when I first started doing this, I came home to my husband like, we have got to save. It's going to be so expensive to get old. But, you can think about it on a temporary basis. Maybe you just need someone to come in for 2 weeks to kind of get the ball rolling for you, get you back on track. Maybe you've been in a slump, and then you can stop after that. We have lots of families who kind of pause services over the summer because they're traveling a lot or their kids are visiting, so they don't need us to come. And then we'll pick back up again in the fall or something like that. We also offer a live-in option. We have a couple Hill residents who have us living in with them. So there's two different kinds of caregivers on our team. The hourly caregiver who can come in a couple hours at a time, or they can actually move in and live in your home with you if you needed someone around the clock. Now, the two requirements for that would be that the caregiver was able to have her own space, her own bedroom in your home. So if you don't have that, it's not an option for you. And second is that she is able to get about an 8-hour chunk of sleep each night. So if you can sleep through the night, now we don't count 1 or 2 trips to the bathroom, even I do that. I'm up every night at 3 a.m. to go to the toilet. But if you're up 3 or 4 plus times a night and you need that support, then you definitely wouldn't need a live-in, and that wouldn't be a good option for you. But if it's just peace of mind, having someone else in your home, they oftentimes become part of the family, you know? And then for that, it's a much more affordable rate. We charge by the day versus by the hour. And so it's $415 a day instead of the $26 an hour times 24 hours. It's like 600 and something. So it's much more affordable to go that route, which is still kind of less than an assisted living, which would be the next step. If you didn't feel safe in your home anymore, the next step would to be look into an assisted living community. Which, if that happens, then, you know, a lot of times we can be of service in an assisted living too. So an individual moving in to a assisted living all by themselves, that can be scary. So they'll bring their caregiver with them for the first couple nights to help ease the transition, or someone to be their personal advocate, if you will, just kind of keeping watch on them and getting questions answered in a timely manner, that sort of thing. So we can kind of be that person for them.
They seem to be great companions.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I've got something at 2 I've got to get ready for, but thank you. This was helpful, and wish me luck.
I hope so. I do wish you luck. And if you need me to mail you anything, feel free to print stuff off of our website. And I'm
Yeah,
sure
that was very good stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Village. Thanks.
Thank you, Maureen.
I thank you also.
You're welcome.
I don't think I have any more questions at the moment. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you
Well,
for joining us, Rosa.
let me know.
Okay.
All right. Renee, thank you so much for this.